delighted today to have Frank Kelleher, the Daytona International Speedway El Presidente. He's got some fantastic news that he'll elaborate a little bit on. Hopefully everyone in the room received the press release at 9 a.m. this morning, but I'm gonna let Frank take it away and let him announce exactly what was entailed in that release. Frank?
Thanks, Russell, and good morning, everyone. Appreciate y'all being here. To Russell's point, if you had not heard, today at 9 a.m. we announced that the grandstand admission seats as well as our RV parking is officially sold out for the 64th running of the Daytona 500. Huge news for our entire industry, and truly is an honor for me to be the one to be able to make that announcement, as there are so many people behind the scenes since the checkered flag of last year's Daytona 500 to make today a reality. So very exciting news for our entire industry.
Okay, we're gonna go and open up for questions. Mr. Henry over here on the left.
Mike Hember from Auto Week. Frank, this is something you have no control over, but a lot of people are going to judge this car based off how the Daytona 500 goes. Good racing, good competition, passing, big drafting packs, etc. From what you've seen yesterday and today, what are you anticipating? Is it going to be similar to past races that we've seen here, or maybe a bit different?
It's, to your point, definitely something we can't control. I feel, we heard from Dale Jr. this morning just talk about how different the car is and how some of the drivers that have been behind the wheel of the Cup Series for many years, it's going to be a total different car to maneuver and to handle. We talked a lot about the steering and how it's different, but I think with that comes great opportunity. I think we saw awesome speeds yesterday. We saw some great tandem runs. I think we all kind of stopped breathing in this room for a minute when all the cars got packed up to see exactly what they were going to do. And I feel that the feedback and the comments from the drivers have been really positive. So I don't know about you, I'm really excited to see the blue-green vacation duel, and when they do get packed up and they are fighting and pushing for position. So I'm confident it's going to produce some great storylines and some great action.
Questions? Holly Kane.
Holly Kane with the NASCAR Wire Service. This is a big deal, I would imagine, to be able to announce it at this point, still weeks before the Daytona 500. Just talk a little bit about what it does for the vibe and kind of the feeling going into the race to be able to have this.
Sure, thanks, Holly. It's a great point. I mean, to kind of remove myself from Daytona and my role, what it currently is, having been in the industry for close to 20 years. I grew up on the partnership and on the commercial side in the sales role, and prior to that, growing up in Pennsylvania, I grew up a racer and in a racing family. So when I think about the reality of the Daytona 500 being sold out a month in advance, this helps every stakeholder in the industry. If you're Fox, if you're NBC, if you're MRN, if you're NASCAR Digital Media, and you're out there trying to move inventory, when you can authentically walk in and say the Daytona 500 sold out a month in advance, it's very powerful. As we all know, for our race teams, the Daytona 500, it's their most lucrative event. For their partners, they're all competing to see who's going to be that primary sponsor. So for the teams to be able to go back to their partners, primaries, and associates and say, the sport legit is in a very healthy place and it's climbing, and here's proof to that. It's also very powerful. And I think about just every racetrack, whether it's SMI, independent, the NASCAR owned properties, as we're reaching out to our fans on renewal or first time fans, the reality is the 500 sold out over a month in advance. Do you really want to wait to renew your ticket? I mean, everyone's hungry to see this next gen car. So I think overall, this Daytona is the world center of the racing, and this news is bigger than Daytona. It's a huge win for our entire industry.
Jordan.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. You guys are not having the Clash this year. First time Daytona's not hosting the Clash since its inception. Your thoughts on that? Is that a race you guys want back? Are you okay with it going out to other places?
Thanks, Jordan. I mean, the entire the entire staff here, I mean, we're in the business of putting on events. We like more events. We don't like losing events. However, though, the vision of the industry and tapping into a new major market for an exhibition race, we 100% support the decisions that are made, and we're very confident that it's going to be a success out in LA. If the race ever does become available, you're right, we're gonna put our hands up and say that we would absolutely love to have it back. You know, this community as a whole, I think we saw it yesterday, we had over 10,000 people show up for yesterday's test. You know, majority of that are people that had the ability to drive in and to check it out. So I think it shows that the demand is here, the fandom is here, and people love seeing these cars on the high banks.
Second question for me is, we've heard this a lot from NASCAR and other track promoters about, and television networks about how start times and everything, and, you know, later start times, earlier start time. From your perspective, where are you at start times? We know later start times is better for TV, earlier start times is better for fans, but from a track perspective, where are you at?
It's such a balance, Jordan. I mean, because you could just look at it through your lens of what's going to work for opening up the gates and getting people here and getting them home at a decent time, but also finding that sweet spot balance of the network of when are the most eyeballs going to be viewing. So I don't really have a strong say of I need to be right and it needs to be this time. I think it's more of just a collaboration and just trying to find that balance of what works for the network as well as what works for the guests that will be coming through our gates. Thanks.
Bob Pockers.
Bob Packers, Fox Sports. With this out this early, did you consider any sort of temporary grandstands?
It's a great question, Bob. I have not thought about it yet, but I will be sure to take some notes and we'll do some digging and see if it makes sense to put some temporary grandstands up. But to that point, there are still ways that fans can purchase and come and view the 64th running of the Daytona 500. For $145, we have a package that will get you in the UNOH fan zone. So for $145, you get in the fan zone, you get to peek into the Cup Garage, and you also get a Luke Combs pre-race concert. So a lot of value there. On the other side of the racetrack, we have some great opportunities in our premium hospitality areas from Harley J's to the Rolex Lounge. In addition to that, we have a partner in the secondary marketplace called SeatGeek, to where they do have some tickets that are for sale. So I think probably before we erect some temporary seating, we're gonna make sure that we completely sell this place out, which will be on the horizon.
And I know things change with the pandemic very quickly, so we're still, a little over 5 weeks away, but I mean, are there any other sort of contingency plans, or what people saw in July, will it be pretty much the same, or is there anything that's being different?
Yeah, the August event weekend, Bob, is really our barometer at this moment in time of, you know, we're gonna follow state, local guidance. The health and the safety of our fans has been our #1 priority. So if things evolve and things change, we absolutely will roll with it. But for the folks that were here in August and for the folks that have not, we are going to be following the same protocols. If you're in the grandstands, if you're in the garage, if you're in open air in the midway, a mask will not be required. If it is a speedway controlled area, for example, the Daytona 500 Club or the Rolex Lounge, we will ask our guests to wear a mask.
Jim?
Jim Butter, motorsport.com. I was just curious, it's been many years since we've had significant off-season testing, particularly at Daytona. Number one, were you surprised at the turnout of fans for their opportunity to come in yesterday? And number two, would you like to add that list of continued off-season testing to what Daytona hosts?
No, I mean, I've been around since 2002 when I started my internship, and I remember preseason thunder and being outside thinking, why is it so cold? I thought I was in Florida. And just seeing the fans everywhere and the Q&A and the driver interaction, and I just thought it was so awesome, and you know, was bummed to see it go away. And as a promoter, we actually pitched this concept. It was in Talladega in the fall when we knew that this test was coming, so we sat down with NASCAR competition and we kind of, you know, dusted off what we did in preseason thunder of Q&A and concerts and all of this cool fun stuff for our fans. And you know, we kind of had to pump the brake as the event got closer, just knowing that we need to keep our drivers safe and all of that. And you know, a few of us were chatting yesterday, like, man, like we wish we could have done more for our fans, and that's just how we're wired. But the reality is, like, it was open, it was free, infield and grandstands, and we had over 10,000 people here yesterday. So to answer your question, I would love to continue to have testing. You know, rule of thumb, throw racers when the racers are in town. And you know, we know that the racing community is here, so if there's an opportunity to have cars on track in January next year, this entire team of Daytona is going to put their hand up and do everything we can to make it happen.
Any more questions? Frank, how pumped up are you just about, this is your first Daytona 500. I mean, I think most people here have got a bio on you, but just tell a quick story of, you know, you growing up a big time race fan, and now you're the president of this, you know, track since April, and now you're getting ready for your first 500.
So I haven't had the courage yet to put it on social, but I shared it with Russell. It's a photo of a shirtless 9-year-old me sitting on the top of a pickup truck in the infield of Pocono Raceway in 1989, rooting for my man Mark Martin. You know, I grew up in Scranton, PA, in my family's gas station and garage business. I grew up changing tires, I drove a tow truck, I plowed snow. I went to college in my hometown of Scranton thinking I was gonna live and die and sell tires and sell cars there. My uncle raced a late model at Daytona Speedway, 5 Mile Point, Penn Can. I've got a cousin that runs a 358 wing sprint car all over central PA. And I'm a 2-time national champion with the World Karting Association. So I grew up with just grease embedded in my hands and being a garage kid, and that's where my passion of racing started. And it was through racing that I met a gentleman named Bill Darcy, who got me an opportunity for an internship here with what was International Speedway Corporation. So I drove from Scranton to Florida this summer of 2002, and I left thinking this beats changing tires and plowing snow, and if there's a way to work in the sport, that would be great. So to your point, I grew up on the commercial ISC corporate side, and I'm 9 months in as the track president. And I feel that it's just very grateful for the opportunity to have the background that I did of growing up a racer and in a racing family and having that passion for it, but also now understanding the business of how it all works. And I get to celebrate that now very authentically in my new role with race fans and with partners, and to be the host for the Great American Race. So by all counts, I am thrilled, I am excited, but also probably equal parts terrified, because I know the expectation is just going to be to sell it out earlier next year. So I don't have a plan for that yet. So we're just going to marinate in this goodness right now.
Any other questions, friends? Frank, thank you very much. Big time news today. Great day to be at Daytona.
Cool.
Sell out.
Thanks, Russell. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for being here.